Hey everyone, I'm Pablo.
And I'm Leon.
Join us as we sit with Ray Cantu from ColdCALR. Ray, thank you for joining us on The Boost.
Thanks for inviting me.
So ColdCALR, obviously we're here at Geekdom. We sit nearby to you. We talk to you quite often. And I got a chance to sit through your simulator, to see how the program worked. And I did go through the demo. So I was talking to Alice, right? That's her name?
Uh-huh.
Chatting with Alice, and actually, I gotta say, having these conversations with, an AI, like, I honestly expected it to not be, I don't know, I expected it to be much more robotic. It felt more natural than I had expected, and I had seen it, like what? I had sat down with you maybe 3 weeks ago. Have you rolled out some new iterations? Because it comes off way more naturally than it did initially.
This tech is moving fast, Papa.
Yeah.
Every week it's getting better and better.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people here at Geekdom who are here on day one, and if you ask them how much we've progressed in, we're on our 11th month, it's mind-boggling. So where we're currently at, these call them not bots. They sound great,
Yeah.
right? They sound extremely good. And for the purpose that we're using them for as simulations to help people with their sales skills, they just hit the spot.
Yeah, well, first of all, I forgot to mention, congratulations on incorporating. You are now president of ColdCALR. So congrats on that. That's another, I think, iteration for your business as well. But tell us about ColdCALR. I know, just looking at the impact report from Geekdom, that you were a participant in the Startup Bootcamp. Tell us about that experience.
Accelerator or pre-accelerator? I don't recall.
All of the above.
All of the above. So you went through the full program, and then you won in that impact report the 20,000 pitch competition, right?
Yeah. Well, the interesting story is, one, the Geekdom programming, it works, right? It's one of those things, if you work it, it's going to work for you. When we started this, I was really just using this place as somewhere to do my own cold calling for my real estate deals. Okay. But I told myself, I was like, entrepreneurship, it's contagious, right? If you just hang around people long enough, eventually, you'll get the itch. What I told myself is, soon enough, something will come to me, I'll have an idea, and then I'll run it through the programming. And here we are, a year later, from an idea that we had that started at the startup weekend, right, and went through the process, and most recently we just landed $100K in funding. So
congratulations! Wow, that's amazing. Well, the thing is what people don't recognize in entrepreneurship is that sales is integral, right? You can have a great idea, but if you can't sell it, if you can't properly present it, and people don't understand it, it's very hard to be successful with it. So the fact that you have not only a product that can help in that process, but it trains folks, it can also assist in helping that entrepreneurship growth take place, right? Without having to focus just on having lots of salespeople to do it.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, but you're exactly right, man. Everybody is selling all the time.
Yes.
In the entrepreneurship space, just going through the Geekdom programming, they're teaching you how to sell better. They're teaching you how to go and pitch yourself to VCs. Well, when you go and you pitch yourself to VCs, what are you pitching? Well, you gotta sell two things, right? You gotta sell your idea. You gotta sell yourself.
Yes.
And what we've seen is that most people, they don't understand that concept, right? And they don't know how to prepare for it. What's funny is one of the simulations that we created is called the Wolf. And the Wolf, it simulates a conversation for fundraising for entrepreneurs to go and talk to VCs, right? How does that conversation even sound? Behind closed doors, what are the questions that they're asking? Well, we built a simulation to prepare you for that. And what's really, really funny is that I was trying to raise money for a venture for about 6 months. At the same time, we created this simulation called the Wolf. And he would never give me money, right? So what was he telling me? He was just like, hey, keep working on your pitch, keep working on what you're selling. The week that the Wolf finally said yes to me, later that week we had money in our account.
That's impressive, and I think too, and I always tell everybody this: it's being an entrepreneur is a lonely endeavor. Even as you're at Geekdom, you've got a lot of people to bounce ideas off, but the role playing thing has always been a hard concept for me. Like I couldn't role play sales with Pablo. There's a wall there. But when I was demoing the product, I felt more comfortable explaining it and doing it, and there was no like that personal level of judgment. It was an AI that was giving me some feedback, and then I know I could take that and be like, hey, I practiced this enough to where it feels like a second like input, and I can just give it out, versus if I do anything with a person, I just struggle. And I love the demo on the website. I think it's through another tool, but I like that it was step by step, it was interactive, and then being able to actually go like record yourself real quick and get some sort of feedback. I was like, whoa, this is pretty interesting. Like you're giving a part of it away to show that it's useful, it's smooth, and that, like Pablo said, that AI, I wouldn't have expected that level of advancement. I know ChatGPT-O and all of that, but it just felt very realistic, and I felt comfortable talking to it. Whereas normally I'm like, that was a little clunky.
Well, when I sat down with you a few weeks ago, and you just did the demo with me, I remember thinking there was certainly a gap between your stopping in your conversation with it and then getting the answer while I was thinking. That gap is significantly shorter now. I mean, like probably 50% shorter.
Yep.
Because I sat through it and I was thinking, I wonder, because I wanted to talk about it for the show, what it looked like, today. And I was amazed at how quickly it iterated. I mean, it's much more natural, it feels like. But I also see that application from a training standpoint. When we first launched DigiBoost many, many years ago, we had so many people that were hired from all walks of life. Almost nobody on the sales staff at that time, they weren't salespeople.
Yeah.
Trying to teach them to sell and doing that role play, just like Leon is mentioning, trying to do person-to-person training is very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When you're just trying to like go through the script in your head, what are you supposed to say? What are the objections? How do you counter? All of those things, like it's an unnatural gap.
And you don't want to look like a jerk. Like you don't want to be that,
right.
If it was me and we were role playing the money, at some point, if I said no 10 times, you would just hate me. Like, yeah. But there's no resentment towards the AI. So I think it's a very...
You're exactly right. It's one of the most powerful parts of our application. I was actually having a conversation with a banker, and he wanted to use this with his team. And when I was explaining it to him, I said, what we do is we remove the bias. And he goes, yeah, there's a lot of value right there. And that's exactly what you guys are explaining right here, right? It's like if you go and you try to role play with your superior, your boss, right? You are trying to not look dumb, right? You don't want to be judged.
Yep.
It's like, I know I need to get better, but it's very hard to make myself vulnerable and actually learn and accept. And that's not a problem. When we started this, we realized that we had multiple value points, and one of them was the ability to provide a safe learning space, right? There's no judgment. Nobody's watching you. There's no criteria, but we are giving you immediate feedback and coaching. At the end of the day, what we want to provide is an opportunity for growth. So what you don't see on the demo is our script builder, where we tell you exactly what to say. So you can take that and you can incorporate it into your next role-playing session as a form of reinforcement, right? You do it enough times, then it becomes second nature, then all of a sudden you're coming across as
Yeah. Well, and you say that too. It's like, if you've ever gone talk to somebody and you're pitching something, you always walk away and you analyze that conversation over and over. And you're like, man, I wish I could have said that.
I wish I'd said that.
Or
Right.
I wish I did this. Or man, I should have brought this up. That practice, it's just like in the Karate Kid. It's like 10,000 kicks makes perfection. That's what the Greekdom programs is. Public speaking, doing something, if you can practice it enough, you're going to get it, and you're going to get it well. And I love that, what you said. There's no judgment. There's no like perceived embarrassment, and then you have like this input and the ability to like write the script and then get AI to come back and say, hey, here's probably a better way to say it, and you're going to sound much smarter and much more respected is just a really interesting concept, because most people are talking AI in the terms of it's going to change work, you're going to use it for writing. I love when there's implementations where it's a tool. It's not going to replace a salesperson. It's not going to replace something. It's going to help that human build those connections and like be professional and do it in a well way, versus, hey, we're just going to replace your salesperson with a bot. Like, here you go.
Yeah, what's interesting, right? So we've been working on this for over a year now, and we've had, oh my goodness, close to 5,000 conversations. We've got over 60 countries around the world interacting with our bots, with our not bots, and we've learned a lot. Like, we've learned a lot in just watching and seeing what this tool is capable of. What it can't do, what its limitations are, and what we see. One, first and foremost, we're using this technology to actually help humans improve communication with other humans. That is our philosophy. That's our approach. And in saying that, what we're doing is we're building a skill set that you can use across all mediums. Meaning, yes, when you interact with our bots, you're going to be on your laptop or your computer or your phone, but those sales skills, you're going to need them when you're out in the real world, not just behind a computer, not just on your phone. So they're extremely transferable.
No, I can see completely where that, would be helpful, because, you're right. Even in written communication, sometimes just simply being able to like get your idea across clear, concisely. People forget that in spoken communication, you're supposed to do the same thing, right? So that trains you quite well to do exactly that, because you're answering someone's question very quickly and efficiently. But at the same time, the fact that it can pick up on just little nuanced questions, like I was asking it, like, what are some techniques, to improve my sales process? When I'm presenting, what should I do? And it gave me an immediate list of things that I should consider doing to improve my presentation style. Yeah. So it's a coach too, right? Yeah. At least that's the way I was engaging with it, which I thought was pretty interesting.
So I was reading an article about how people are using generative AI right now, and it was like the top 100 ways. And the number one way that people are using generative AI right now is to create ideas, like to brainstorm. So when you think about like your use of it, and let's just say for marketing, right? You take a look at you take a look at some copy. Maybe you put some copy that you already had. You put it in there. You're just like, hey, give me some ideas on how to make this better, or like clean this up, right? Or you take the copy on your website. You're just like, clean up my website. Show me how to improve my copy better. You don't go in there and actually like copy and paste it, right? It's just generating some ideas for you that you got to go clean up. You're gonna be like, oh, that was actually really good. I like that idea. Let me go incorporate it. So what we're doing is exactly what you were saying. Is we're helping you think of new ways to communicate. Through verbal communication. Right. So with our script generator, we're going to give you some suggestions like, hey, it sounded like this is what you were trying to communicate. Try it this way. So see if this works a little bit better for you.
All right, so we talked about how the technology is able to identify where you are at, developing a skill set from a starting point, right? Okay, are you doing really well, or are you doing poorly in certain areas of your sales presentation? It gives you recommendations based off of that. So it does have the ability to be able to determine where you're improving, and then see, like almost like create like a scorecard of some kind as far as like.
Yeah. What's really cool, guys, is our personality randomizer. So in the real estate space, they would say that real estate's easy. It's people that are hard. I'm pretty sure you guys have had your fair share of prospects, right? Where you thought you had them figured out, and then all of a sudden you're just curveball. Wow. Yeah. And it happens so often that you just start expecting it. You're just like, I'm expecting people to be people, right?
Yes.
That's what makes this beautiful planet so beautiful. So with our personality randomizer, we actually prepare you to be able to handle any type of personality. And with our analysis, we'll identify which ones are actually giving you a challenge, and then help you identify ways to overcome it and actually be really, really good at handling those types of personalities.
Amazing. It's like iron sharpens iron. That's amazing.
Yeah. It because in the real world, you do run into the person that's stubborn, or the person that thinks they know everything.
Discerning. Discerning.
Stubborn. But you run into those, and I love that the AI is kind of throwing different personalities, and the fact that it can emulate that, obviously, it's such a cool tool. And being able to just try that, are you able to like ask it for a personality, or is it just randomized? Like, if you know like this one is giving you struggle, can you just kind of keep working on that?
We do give you the controls.
Okay.
So not everybody works the same way. Some people, if they realize that there's a challenge, they shy away from it. And then others, they're just like, hey, I need to get better at this.
Yeah, I obsess over the challenge, and I'm like, I gotta fix this. I gotta solve it.
So we do give the customer controls. How do you want to navigate this ship that we're providing you for that exact reason? What I will say is that what we've seen is that users, it doesn't take very long on our platform, they start building sales confidence, right? And sales confidence, and when you keep it very, very simple, like confidence comes in like knowing, right? Confidence comes in experience. And it really doesn't matter if it's like real life or if it's a simulation, right? Like your brain really doesn't know. It's like going through the motions, right? It's like baseball, right? Like they don't go play the game all the time. They go to the batting cages.
Right.
It's a simulation. But eventually you start just getting confident in your abilities, and it shows. And a lot about sales is just confident, like coming across as confident. So with repetitions, you gain confidence, and with confidence, you get sales.
Yeah. I'd posit one more to that, and that is that where it sort of leads to is preparation also breeds confidence, right? I mean,
Plus
in the
memory.
end, yeah, you're constantly going and practicing to the point where you're no longer, you're no longer thinking about what you're doing. You're just doing it, right? Exactly. So, you mentioned earlier that you were in real estate, right? How would a real estate professional that's trying to build their business maybe adapt ColdCALR to help them grow that business?
That's a good question. When I hear you say build a business, I'm thinking you're bringing on new agents, right? And you need to get those agents up and running as quick as possible. You need to get them into production. So we've built a tool to help you do that faster. You're going to help your agents build the sales skills faster. We're gonna go ahead and start putting them in the full gauntlet of real estate conversations, because you have multiple conversations. A lot of people think that because our name is ColdCALR, it's just for like cold calling. It's not true. What we told ourselves is that if we can help people with cold calling, which arguably is the hardest part of the sales cycle,
Very, very hard, yes.
then help on all aspects of the sales cycle. And so for a real estate professional, you're constantly trying to fill the pipeline. You're bringing people in through cold calling, whatever other lead generation you have, but people are coming in at the very beginning as cold prospects. You've never done business. I mean, maybe referrals, right? That's different. But even then, you've never done business with them, right? You don't have a relationship. Like, you have to start the relationship, and then ultimately you grow the relationship, you water it, and then you harvest it and turn it into hopefully bountiful fruit over the course of multiple transactions. But for the growing real estate professional, ultimately you're going to need to start building up a team. You're going to need to start scaling. And our tool gives you a competitive advantage. Some people call us a cheat code, to get your agents up and running faster, and their sales mastery.
Well, what's interesting too about real estate is that, I've done it not from an agent standpoint, but just from an investment standpoint. And in just dealing with a number of real estate professionals that I've worked with in the past, there's an over-reliance on, who they're associated with to handle that training, to handle the lead generation, to handle and you don't realize that you're supposed to handle that for yourself, which means that you have to be very adept at dealing with the public. You have to be very adept at building business systems, and you have to be very adept at training the people that you work with, right, to be able to be most effective. That doesn't happen at the flagship level. You're part of an MLS. That's what you're getting, right? You're getting that kind of exposure. But what happens in the office when you're engaging with those prospects? That takes real training. And I don't know, maybe that does happen. Not that I've seen or heard of it,
Yeah.
And I'm sure that this would be something that would fill that gap to assist someone that's trying to actually grow their real estate, office. They're trying to bring in new people. The last thing you want to do is put people out there dealing with the public that, one, don't represent you well, but don't sell well, right?
Real estate industry is tough. I mean, today it's tougher than ever, right? You're getting fewer opportunities, and you've got to hustle twice as hard. In real estate, you're typically on the go. You got to do a lot. I mean, you're running a business. One of the most challenging things to do, which is also the most important, is keeping your pipeline full. And you've got to be able to go and train. So most of the time that's overlooked because it takes time, right? And then if you're going to train a team, then more than likely you're going to turn to role playing, which is extremely inefficient. Yeah. Some people say it's like the blind leading the blind. You get a new guy trying to train another new guy. Yeah. Come on, I already know what's going to happen there. With our system, we're putting you and your agents against the most sophisticated salesperson that's ever existed in the form of artificial intelligence. So many ways to get this right for a real estate team.
I'm just thinking, just one application. I had a contact, it was actually a prospect, real estate agent that was representing some properties that are being opened in, I think in October, over by the Pearl. And he's telling me that the properties are not ready yet. They're not going to be actually set up for sale until October, but there's a whole period prior to that for marketing purposes. They have floor plans. They have information around those property footprints. And I'm thinking that would be a perfect opportunity to use a technology like yours to be able to answer questions that people may have. If they see a floor plan on a website and they start asking other questions like, okay, what are the lots like? I don't want to necessarily look at every single floor plan and try to dig that information up. I could just simply ask the bot, right? Would that theoretically be a way to use the system?
Kind of. That's a different application, something that we are working on.
Okay.
For future.
I don't want to get ahead of it.
Yeah. What I would say, though, along the lines of what you said, some of our customers have come to us because they are, and this is not real estate, this is on software side, they are coming out with a new offering. And they need to get their sales team running up as quick as possible to be able to deliver the offering in the best light. Most of the time, they're going to existing customers, and this new offering is something they have to shuffle with. Maybe the company needs to cut some costs. A lot of companies are cutting costs right now,
especially in tech.
They've got to raise some prices. So you've got to be able to go and communicate sensitively, and continue to grow that customer base and that trust in your brand. So they've come to us and they ask hey, can we create these simulations of possible client de-escalation, practicing getting this across the right way. So when you go to our website, the thing that we lead with our video is 40% of McDonald's revenue comes from 6 words. Would you like fries with that? Okay. And so with a system like ours, you can quickly identify what those 6 words need to be for your organization, to get an additional 15, 20, 40% onto your top line.
Okay, so there's applications beyond just sales then. This is just any, in a possible world, any communication that might be difficult for a team, like sales upgrades, I could see, door-to-door sales, car sales, but then there's also the customer support side where, You got to de-escalate a hard conversation. The server's been down for days. The application's not working. I see a few things. Like, it's kind of, as you talk about it, right, it's making more sense to me, and it's kind of exciting, because I'm like, there's cases where I know I have to go talk to our customer and not gonna have a good conversation.
You don't want that to do that
no,
call.
I know that they're discerning, and they're gonna be tough on us, and they're gonna want answers, and I wanna practice it, but those scenarios are like in my head and I'm just running through them. But me talking about them, I feel like I could walk in there a little more confidently, have some expectation how he might ask and what I need to answer, and I need to have a clear and concise, not get nervous and do all of that. But I see a ton of applications, especially
in that scenario right there. What is the value of you getting it right?
client retention generally, right?
Okay. And like, if you were to put a number on it, what is it?
Contracted, yeah, it's pretty high, 5-10 grand sometimes. Like, recurring, you could be looking at $50,000-$60,000.
What does it cost if you get it wrong?
Same amount.
Yeah, same amount.
Actually, more
Plus,
than that, because we have to then acquire a new client.
yes, so it's probably triple that. You lose that client. There's a ton of opportunity costs there. You now got to go acquire a new client. That's a ton of work there, and then build that new relationship and keep that client happy for hopefully a year or more.
So if you were to use a system like ours, and we just helped you with one client, could you see the value?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the interesting thing about this is just the diversity of application that I'm seeing. You're talking about multiple scenarios, right, Leon?
Car sales,
yeah,
door-to-door sales, like the solar door-to-door sales, they're so bad.
Really, it's just, as Ray mentioned, it's human interaction.
Yes, and they're so
Right?
bad at that.
But
Granted, you're at a door.
But what I have to try to sell is I have to try to sell value, right? And the value has certain data points that I have to be able to convey. If I'm trying to sell Ray, I have to be able to share with him why should he choose to work with us. And I've got all these data points. And the last thing that I need to do is forget something important, And it's not always going to be the same list, right? Depending on your personality. You mentioned it earlier. If you're value driven, if you're looking for immediacy, I just need it solved. If you're looking for, finding the right person and we need to jive personalities, I need to like you to do business with you. There's, they could all be different people. They could be a combination of all of
that part right there, just that part.
Yeah.
The being able to identify the buyer that you're talking to. That is an overlooked skill set.
Agreed.
I was having a conversation with a gentleman trying to get into an accelerator program, and I asked him, why would they pick you? And he gave me a list of 5-10 different things, and I'm like, cool. I said, have you ever asked, what are they buying? Like, have you gone to go see what are they buying? Because the only thing you should be selling is what they're buying. So like a system like ours, because of the repetitions, you start learning how to identify buyers, right? You start learning how to ask better questions to get the information that you need to be able to identify the buyers, so you know which pitch to give. If you give the wrong pitch, you're not going to get the answer that you want. But if you give the right pitch to the right person, they're going to say yes all day long.
That's pretty fair. I've done that before, where I start down a pitch, and maybe a quarter way, halfway through, I'm like, this is not connecting. You can tell. And you either have to shift course, and at that point, generally I'm stumbling. I'm like, shifting that course is hard. But if you can identify it up front, or identify it in those first minute or two, that can have a lasting impact on that relationship. And I see the value of the tool. It's like one closed one, especially in like real estate, that can be a big dollar amount depending on the home, depending on the building. In any line of business, it's like the communication is a hard thing to practice, and the value is, if you lose it, you're losing so much money. And if you gain it and you keep it, you gain a lot of money, probably less than you're going to lose, but it's all upside from there.
Exactly right.
You know, when we when we created this, it was because I built a tool for myself, and I was pounding the phones, and something just wasn't clicking. I was like, "What is it? What am I not doing right?" And it turned out I was not saying something at the right time. You know, what we like to say is like, it's not just what you say, but it's what you say, how you say it, and when you say it. It all matters. And so in this particular case, like when I realized that we had a winning ticket, I ran through our tool, I gave my pitch, and then it gave me a suggestion. And it said, instead of saying it like this, try saying it like this. That very week, I landed a $30,000 commission check. I was like, oh, I think I'm onto something.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Such a small change too. Like, you know, it's a small change, but I'm sure the amount of practice that you had behind the scenes with the AI is, you know, probably 3, 4, 5 hours, maybe more. But that small change was massive for you.
So I have another question. So right now there's a rollout pretty much of all types of different AI applications that people aren't implementing well. You know, I'll give you an example. Chat AI that has to be trained, right? The chat AI has to be trained, but most people are just implementing it and they're not really putting much time into training it properly. Could a tool like this be leveraged to be able to make sure that you incorporate the correct questions that they should be answering about your business? You know, could you use that to structure maybe other tools that you might use on your, on your website for, say, for example, if I wanted to have a chat AI but I needed to train it, what types of questions should it be able to answer? You know, like I could just sit here, write down a whole bunch of things, but are those necessarily the best types of things that I should be addressing with chat, as an example? Could you see an application where you use this as almost like a lead-in training tool for other types of applications?
That's a question. I mean, I think the easy answer is yes, right? However, I'm not going to go with that answer. I'm going to go with no.
Okay.
What we've seen is the best applications are specific at doing one thing. In our case, we are very, very specific at helping people with their sales conversations. That's what we do extremely well. Could we use this to go and help somebody do something else better? Probably we can create a way.
I could always, as a client, hack it however I want, right? And do my own. It's like this, I'm learning a whole bunch of great stuff over here. I want to apply it to my total business.
Well, if you go
To what I originally said, right? It's everything is sales.
Right.
Right? Everything is, I need to get from point A to point B, and I got to figure out how to do it. Everything is sales. You're selling yourself every day, at least 500 times. You're selling your coworkers. You're selling your spouses. You're selling your kids. You know, it's just a matter of communication. So, short answer, like, yes. When you go use our tool, you'll start learning sales faster. You'll start learning it better. And because you start developing that skill set, yes, you will be able to carry it over and start refining other processes. You know, especially if they're part of your business funnel to get more customers and service, more customers and have better relationships. Because it's all integrated at the end of the day.
I even, thinking through it right now, like those conversations help on the marketing side even. Like
Absolutely.
finding the value props, being able to describe those value props, building those headlines. Like the sales leads into the marketing, that leads into the branding and all of it. It's like an integral part, but without the sales, you're not going to find the rest of the stuff.
Right.
And it'll all come back and feed to your sales.
That's right.
Yeah. So on the next podcast, I'll talk about what we're developing behind this, which will probably give you the answer that you're really looking for. But we'll save that.
Well, we certainly look forward to having you again, and I really appreciate the time you sat with us and explaining more about ColdCALR. And and if you want to check out ColdCALR, please do at ColdCALR.com.
We'll put it in the show notes too.
Yes.
And then we'll also put it in the website on the boost.fm.
Yes, that's right. So thank you again.
Hey, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.